News with Gina.
The news with Gina Grad.
Let's start with some hot vaccine news. Start with a little piece of trivia, and then we'll get down to the scandal. So now that there is a COVID-19 vaccine and it's a reality, now there's a big jump, a big uptick in numbers of Americans who are willing to get it. So first, everybody was squeamish. Now 3/4 of Americans say they'll get it. That includes 46% who say they'll wait a little to see how other people do. 32% say they'll wait even longer, and then 20% say they'll never get it. 2/3 of Democrats.
20%. 1 out of 5 people.
First things first, I don't believe everybody. It's like I said this a week ago. People people get polled and they go, I'm not going to take it because they like the way it sounds. Sure. And then what you don't realize is there's an emulsification process that takes place. So somebody asked you 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago before the vaccine, are you going to take it? And you go, no, I'm not going to take it.
Yeah.
And then
your knee-jerk reaction. Perhaps.
And also, it's not that 20% of Americans don't like vaccines. 20% of Americans are sort of naysayer, asshole, sort of contrarians. That's who they are. If you ask them, are you going to take some ice cream on your apple pie? No, I'm not. I'm going to have to do that.
No.
Why? Who wants to know? Right. Yeah. Who, you want me to do it? I'm not doing it.
What to do?
Right. So that's really what you're saying. They're not saying I don't like vaccines. They're saying I want to say to you something different than you want to hear. So there's.
But at 20%, if we picked a random group of 10 people, and I know what you're saying, but you don't think there'd be 2 being like, no, not me. Like, I could see that. I
can see it, but there's also another thing. So you think about this. Think about a subject like gay marriage, And I don't know if they're going to vaccinate gays or not. I don't know. I think the jury's still out.
But, consider
obviously, it merits a discussion. But the point is this. You take your average American and you go, what about gay marriage? And then 80% of them go, gay marriage? No, I don't think so. No, that's not right. And then you let a little time go by and you see a bunch of couples getting married, and then you hear about Anderson Cooper's married or whatever. And then you ask those people after some time pass, and they go, gay marriage? Oh, I guess it's okay. That's what people are doing.
The idea has a steep.
Yeah, it's like emulsification in your brain. So you ask people 3 weeks ago, you're going to get a vaccine, and a percentage of them go, no, I'm not going to do it. And then you see Santa getting his vaccine and Fauci getting his vaccine and Pelosi and Mike Pence. And you start to go, that's kind of how it works.
To your point. So Mike Pence, Joe Biden, they've gotten it. Somebody else got it, and they are catching hell for having gotten it. So Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has been given the shot, and fellow squad member Ilhan Omar from Minnesota has called it shameful.
Oh, boy.
So Omar called AOC out on Sunday for jumping the line as a young, healthy lawmaker and not waiting until seniors and frontline workers got their shot, according to New York Post. And there's a lot of lawmakers that are sort of on board with that now. So AOC said she and other members of the House of Representatives were being, quote, urged to take the vaccine.
Yeah, I thought that Congress was like under orders, but like they're supposed to get it early.
You could abstain, I guess, as some are doing. And she says this is in accordance with national security protocols. She taped the whole thing and said it's not scary and this is what's going on. And she thought that would be helpful. But people, a lot of people weren't down with it. Some questioning why politicians were getting the shot before healthcare workers had received theirs. So she called her shameful.
Well, Ilhan Omar's a bitch. I mean, she's just a fucking bitch. She hates everything. She hates this country. She's a fucking bitch. So if someone – look, obviously you jump the line or your dad works for Pfizer and it gets you in the back door, that's something. If somebody just puts it out, hey, does everyone want a vaccine? Want the vaccine? You go, fine. That ain't jumping the line.
Yeah, does anyone have a problem with like Congress and Senate and the Supreme Court?
I don't – at this point, just get it to as many people as you can get it to. I think we're making a lot about the jumping the line thing. But, yeah, AOC is 31. She's a female. She's not fat. She's in good health and probably at almost zero risk for this thing. So there's that argument. On the other hand, if they're offering it to you, you take it.
I'd imagine,
And I think that's the two sides of this. Like Dr. Fauci, who I think is like 79, like in late 70s, he got it, because it's like, well, which side are you on? Either you don't get it and you get accused of, why, what do you know that we don't know? And you do get it to show people it's safe. And well, why do you get to go? So, it's you're damned if you do, damned if you don't.
I have no idea why you'd want to call her out on in this particular subject. That seems like an asinine thing to do. Yeah. There's so many other things, but you guys are on the same squad. You are the squad. Well, what are you going against your own musketeer for? She got it. It's fine. Give it out. I think women are faring better than men. At least I heard a stat that they're doing better with COVID than men. It's funny. Oh, it's an interesting stat. You don't really talk about it, but I think women are doing better than men. It's kind of interesting because you hear all the blacks aren't doing as well and Hispanics aren't, but women doing better than men, that's not a good theme for the news because it's always oppression and, white men and blah, blah, blah. But I think women are doing better than men with this. It's the kind of thing that could be talked about if it fit some fucking narrative, but it doesn't fit a narrative. Right. It's just information. The narrative is women are oppressed and they're in a minority group and blah, blah, blah. In mid-October, every 10 women claimed by versus 12 men. So they're doing a little bit better than men in this particular situation.
Well, remember, and I'll never forget, the amazing Christmas miracle of Alyssa Milano and James Woods coming together on social media to help get the horses out of the fires in California.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
We still celebrate that in our house.
I'm telling you, look to James and Alyssa whenever you need to see two people from very different backgrounds coming together. And now we have a new example, Alyssa Milano and Phil Robertson from Duck Dynasty on the same page. Totally simpatico when it comes to the new coronavirus relief bill. They both think it's,
that was me. Sorry.
Okay.
Right.
I had to answer the door. They both think that it's basically an affront to Americans. So Roberts, he's the elder on Duck Dynasty, staunch conservative, backer of President Trump, said in his post, and we have the picture because the picture's great, but he says, it says, well, first, let's read the beginning. It says, one kingdom-minded redneck can help a down-and-out redneck better than the government ever could. And he quotes himself and says, #JesusPoliticsBook, which I guess is the Bible. He says, politicians put people out of work, killed small businesses, and said it was to protect us. And now Congress wants to send Americans $600 for their troubles. If we turn that responsibility over to the government and let ungodly legislators determine how to help us and how to spend our money, there's no doubt our money will be used for ungodly ends. And Alyssa couldn't agree more. She said between 30 and 40 million families are at risk of eviction, but Congress can only afford $600 per person. I'm sure the $500 million in arms and military aid to Israel and the $2 billion for Air Force missiles will help keep them warm when they're on the streets. Now, those are just two examples. I did a little research into this. There is a lot of foreign aid in this coronavirus bill. And when it's, up almost $1 trillion. There's stuff you can sneak in for whoever, for Israel, for Sudan, for Pakistan. And there's a lot of extras in there and possibly very important, just not to do with Americans and their checks being mailed to them.
Yeah, that stuff used to be earmarked. So they would add things on and it would be earmarked. And at some point they got rid of the earmarking. And so now you can't tell the stuff that got tacked on. Like, right. I want to name this bridge after my local senator. We need another $100,000. That stuff used to be earmarked, and then you could spot it. At some point, they did away with the earmarking, and now it's just part of the 5,000, 5,500 pages. I mean,
why would they do that?
They give this
shit that ever passed.
They give this shit out at noon. It's 5,500 pages, and then we got to vote at 3 p.m. Who would possibly read 1/50th of that? Who could? Why even give someone a copy? Why even give? It's like, I will give you 5 phone books, and then we will vote. I'll give you literally 5 phone books, and we're going to vote in 20 minutes. Like, why even bother giving it to somebody? Who would ever? Who would even begin to read it?
And apparently, it was the centrists on both sides that we could probably start a new political group, a political category of just centrists, because they're closer together than, people in their own party, that were getting together, burning the midnight oil and trying to hammer this out. And, Mitt Romney, I can't remember, McCluskey, I can't remember the whole group, but they got together. They were the ones that apparently started spearheading this. And then one of the lawmakers, as sort of a celebration at the end, brought his own 180 proof moonshine to celebrate. Mitt Romney did not partake, but it was offered to him. So this, and I only looked at Australia just for comparison, but there's this meme going around that shows you all the aid going to individuals in other countries. And I was like, these things tend to not be accurate, but at least the two I looked up were where it's like, whatever, I'm making this up, but like Australia, each person gets $1,700 a month. In Germany, you get $2,300 a month or whatever. And America, $600 for 32 weeks. What are people going to do?
I don't know what this is supposed to solve.
Well, there is more. I did a little bit of a dive on it, and there's a little more to it. It involves unemployment insurance and stuff like that.
It's another extra $300?
It's not as bleak as just here's $600, right. See if you can stretch out a month. But it's still not. It's not much, and I'm sure there's still a ton of fucking money going to places and other businesses and other things that we earmarked toward, there's stuff earmarked toward movie theaters and airlines. Sure. And of course, there's going to be a shitload of money going to places other than just out of work Americans. And right. We're now living in that era. I don't know. Or maybe we're always living in that era. I don't know that's avoidable. All I got to say to you people is you got to cover your own ass. You just do. You have to have some money set aside. You have to sort of plan your life in such a way. You have to sort of shape your business or your life, because this thing of like, well, when the wheels come off the wagon, who's going to step in? Well, the answer, we got our answer. You're going to get not much and the wait's going to be a long time. I mean, it's really no different than, the free lunches at school. You think you're going to get good food? It's going to be slop. I mean, that's how the government works. So what I'm kind of saying to people, I've always said to people is pretend. I think we just had a little technical issue, but just pretend like the government doesn't exist. Never expect to get anything from them. Never expect to get bailed out. Never expect to get any kind of thing earmarked for you, and just go along life that way. All right, so the internet has dropped out, so we lost Brian and Gina, but I will continue on my soliloquy about the government. The government's not good at things. I don't know if you guys have figured that out. I mean, they're pretty good at, missiles and bombers and armies and, battleships and stuff like that. Even then, God knows how much money they're wasting. But they're not that good at taking care of the individual citizen. So plan accordingly. Just assume they're not going to be there when you need them. So I don't know. Let's do it. Let's pretend it's an earthquake. Let's say you're in earthquake country. And FEMA may step in and help you out after a long period of time and lots of fraud and lots of arguing and lots of paperwork. Or you could set aside some clean water and some canned goods and take that big China hutch and put one of those straps on it so it doesn't fall off the wall and bust everything and crush the dog. Just treat your life like you're in earthquake country. And if the big one hits, the government could come back and fix it, but I don't know. Why don't you bolt your house down to the foundation yourself? Why don't you earthquake-proof things in your home? Why don't you do that? Because I'm not counting on the government. I don't think you should count on the government. Those are always surprised and outraged. Now, I get it. This is different. The government essentially sent an earthquake to your house by making you shut down your small business. So this one is on them. But even in that scenario, having money put aside, having a plan B, being diverse, a little diversity, you know what I mean? Like a portfolio. Like when you invest, You don't want all your money in utilities. You want to get some Apple stock and some Tesla stock and then gas and electric. You know what I mean? A little diverse so that if the wheels come off the wagon and the Tesla stock drops through the basement, you'll take a hit, but you won't be buried. You won't be crushed. You'll have a little backup plan. And in general, that's just kind of the way to go. Have a couple pair of nail clippers around your house, not just one. Get an extra one, throw it in your car. Put a can of Fix-A-Flat in the back there in case you get a flat along the freeway. Make sure there's air in the spare. Take care of yourself. Protect yourself. Plan for yourself. By the way, that's what people used to do. I mean, the government wasn't always the government. The government used to be small. So the plan was always, well, the government's small, so you got to look after yourself. You got to look after your family because the government's not going to do anything. And then at some point, we decided to make the government huge, and the government still can't do anything for you and your family. So act accordingly. Don't be upset. If you're going to be pissed at somebody, find a mirror. And again, if you run a restaurant and you're in California and the oppressive regime run by Newsom and Garcetti close you down, that's a little act of God. It's a little act of devil. It's a little out of your hands. It's a little force majeure. But you still should have that money set aside. You still should sort of have that plan B. You still should have that contingency plan because this shit's going to come in a lot of different forms. I mean, it's not all going to be a pandemic in the government. Could be an earthquake. Could be a flood. Could be a fire. Could be many. It could take place in many different forms. You could have an illness and not be able to go into work. So protect yourself, and maybe we'll use this little moment as a reset. Maybe this would be a good time for everyone to evaluate what they're doing, their business, and act accordingly. All right, Gina, we got you back.
Yeah, we're here. Do you see? There you are.
Check.
We're here.
All right. Well, let's just carry on with the news.
All right. Let's move on. So John Mulaney, celebrated comedian, often jokes about his sobriety in his stand-up act. He is checked into rehab for alcohol and cocaine addiction.
Oh.
According to Page Six, he'll spend the next 60 days at a treatment facility in Pennsylvania. He said he started drinking at 13 years old, didn't fight rehab at all. A source says John's friends and family are happy that he's finally getting some help and focusing on his health. John had been sober for 15 years, but they said the lockdown was apparently what caused this slip up. And Mulaney apparently had acted as Pete Davidson's sober buddy on SNL. So sometimes that's, helpful to have someone with you. But he does. I mean, I know his stand-up very well, and he jokes all about, how he used to be a blackout drinker. And it's funny because he doesn't look like a guy who used to do anything, and tells all these crazy blackout drinking stories. And it's just sort of reared its head again.
Well, if you're going to be home all day, and I mean, one of the greatest adages ever is the devil makes work for idle hands. When you're just hanging out all day and you got nowhere to go and you're staring at that bottle of scotch or vodka, it's just so goddamn easy.
Add in the fact that he's probably used, his lifestyle probably over the last 10 years has been go, 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 right? Writing, producing, preparing the beer, whatever. And now it's like, all right, put it all on hold.
Yeah. And I could see that with a lot of people. But I mean, if it's not booze, it's food. It's lethargy. It's watching way too much TJ Hooker. What?
For example,
a lot of Love Boat.
Yeah, you're a loser when a new episode of TJ Hooker comes on, and you're like, oh, and then you're like, oh, I just saw this one, and then I go, fuck it, I'm watching it again.
Go ahead again.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, speaking.
Yes.
So he's going to be there for 60 days. So that doesn't, that seems pretty significant. And more power to him because, if you watch enough of like the show Intervention, you're constantly negotiating with these people. Like, okay, final offer, 15 days, then I get to leave, but for someone who's committing to 2 months, that seems like a big deal.
You can't.
Oh,
Yeah, exactly.
Drew. Yeah. Well, Drew always says, the people that want to do the weekend or something, it's like, no way. No. But also he scares people because he goes, you're going to be in, 2 months, 60 days. And everyone's like, 60 days. And then it's a deal breaker. So we wish him well.
Yes. Speaking of alcohol, an Oklahoma father is in jail after he chose to get his 2-year-old to be his drinking buddy. So he's 27 and he's James Watts. I think we have his mugshot. He thought it would be funny if his toddler took a sip of Smirnoff Ice that she was given. So he let her take another sip and then posted the video on Snapchat and captioned it, "My baby gun be drunk. She liking it a little too much."
Definitely not the Jew.
Please get that.
Oh, boy.
Please get that.
Yeah, we're seeing the picture. Probably not a Jew.
The mother saw the Snapchat, immediately called 911. Police arrested him, charged him with child neglect, and he's being held for $50,000.
I would argue that's the opposite of child neglect.
That's what I said.
I don't think
my too involved.
I wish my parents were into me to the extent that they'd give me a draw off their malt-based liquor. I wish my dad would have taken the time so I could have caught a nice buzz and
Quality time.
dealt with my life back then.
Gone are the days of giving him like a sip of gin and like swearing him off booze for the next decade. Like the Smirnoff Ice is tasty.
Yeah,
my kid's gonna fucking love that.
Yeah, it's
I know.
Like candy.
Yeah, don't think I haven't given some consideration to once the kids can drive, once Sonny can drive pretty good, Maybe next season, if we're watching a football game and Daddy has a couple IPAs, toss him the keys.
Well, I think that's totally rational. I think that's what most people think.
Good.
Fine.
Yeah, I'll run that up Drew's flagpole and look at his face, see what he has to say.
He just checked another box.
Yeah.
That's safer than what I thought you were going to say. I thought you were going to say it's not a bad idea to get him to learn how to drive just a little buzzed.
Gina.
Oh.
For God's sake.
Yeah,
that's nowhere near what he was going to say. Jesus Christ.
Hold on.
Adam, we'll take care of this.
Let me write this down. Little buzz.
Gina says.
Okay, what's the definition of little buzzed?
Just a nice vibe going.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Chill
All right.
vibe.
Let's move on to people playing Santa Claus this year. So Kim Kardashian, she's the new stimulus check. We don't need a real stimulus check. We have Kim. She's partnering with, I think, the Cash App. And she tweeted Monday, she's giving away $500,000. She said this in a tweet: "Hey guys, it's the most important, wonderful time of the year. I know 2020 has been a really hard for people struggling, worried about putting food on the table, paying rent, or a gift under the tree. I want to spread the love by sending $500 to 1,000 people. Send me your cash tag below with hashtag KKW holiday." And she is partnering with this, so I don't know that it's coming out of her pocket directly, but 1,000 people will get $500. That's the helpful Honda.
Yeah, what the helpful Honda guy. Yeah, the New World Order, as we talked about, since everything is DVR and everyone fast forwards through all the commercials, everything is integrated now, right?
Yes.
So when you watch a show like Extra and you see the celebrity comes on and they're interviewed and you're kind of like, what are they doing this for? At some point, the last 30 seconds, they sort of dovetail into, and I'm also working with Visa. Visa and their Visa rewards program. So it's like the person is now doing a commercial in the interview because that's the only way they can get it into the body. So Billy Bush goes, we'll talk to one of the Kardashians. And then the Kardashians go, here's the caveat. I got to talk about Visa.
I remember this I remember a lot from just listening to the radio, but especially when we were doing the radio show every year around Super Bowl. Oh, this old timer wants to come out and just talk about football. And then they're like, oh, I'm also working with American Express on this very exciting new, you'd get on of, I don't know, Dick Butkus or Jerry Rice or whoever, Joe Namath. Let me come on and talk to you about football. Oh, and by the way.
Right.
The only way we could interview James Lipton on the show was if we talked about his knee pillow for seniors when you sleep on your side.
Really?
That's helpful.
He redirected every single question back to that knee pillow. God bless him. It was like a pro.
If you go to heaven, what would you like God to say to you when you get to the pearly gates? Thank you for your knee pillow. It's a true blessing.
Yeah, what you want is the celebrity who agrees to do it and then doesn't give a shit once they do the interview and never brings it up. And then there are the other ones that are super dutiful. And then there are the other ones that probably have the publicist for knee pillow sitting right there, like pointing at something, going, come on, bring it up again. All right, let's.
And it's super old school. Well, just because that's something that like Johnny Carson used to do. You know, you would do it in the middle of the show, and now that's how we have to get people's attention again.
Ed McMahon would do Alpo commercials.
Oh.
Do you remember Alpo?
The dog food?
Yeah, like when I was a kid, it's kind of weird when you're a kid. There's only one of everything. Like
there's dog food.
There's only one rice dish. It's rice-a-roni. Like that's it. There's just one. There's just one of everything. And Alpo is the dog food. And I think you can find it, Maxipata. But Ed McMahon would do like live hits for Alpo in the middle. Oh, by the way, the Tonight Show used to be on from like midnight to 1:30 or something like that. You're sitting home drunk. You see Ed McMahon up there talking about Alpo. You think you pop up and go, I'm going to the market.
That reminds me.
Nobody needs dog food at 12:45.
And if they do, they don't give a shit about the dog.
Right. I get it when you see one of those Carl's Jr. double Baconator burger things and you go, fuck, I'm going to the drive-in. Open 24 hours. Like, I'm out of here. But dog food? I don't know. I think he would do Budweiser. Let's see. We'll show you Ed McMahon.
And now that master of wisdom who's wiser than his master, Alpone the Magnificent. Alpone will divine the answer to the hidden question.
Spot check.
Spot check. How does Spot pay his bills? Amazing. And Alpone knows what's in Alpo beef sunk dinner, too. Real beef and complete nutrition for a dog's whole life. So remember Alpone's wisdom. Alpo has the beef dogs love to eat. 1,000 blessings on your house and puppy.
There you go. Doing live. Probably did Budweiser, too.
He did do Budweiser, too.
All right, let's do one more, Gina.
All right. Well, I know you hate this. Everybody puts it in the same category every year of heartwarming, and I know it's more heartburning for you. So I would be remiss if we didn't do one in 2020. An anonymous shopper has come through at a Walmart in Bristol, Tennessee, donated $65,000 to pay off the items placed on the store's layaway. And the donation was enough to pay for all of the layaway items in the store. The manager sent out notifications to customers, letting them know their items had been paid off by a secret Santa. And the man would like to remain anonymous, but he did allow the manager to pass along the message saying he wants to tell you that he loves you and God bless you.
Well, this year, I can look the other way. In general,
you don't like when it's
other years. I don't like when LeBron James comes in and pays off everyone's shit because it's a horrible message. Everyone should have the experience of layaway. But then some celeb comes in and makes them whole. I don't like that. But this year, I will abide by it.
One-time exception.
All right,
it is a Christmas miracle.
Let's bring it home, Gina Grad.
You got it. I'm Gina Grad, and that's the news.
Gina Grad. That was the news with Gina Grad.